Welcome back. In this section of the course, we are going to take a deeper dive into both Firebase as well as advanced Redux concepts. Now, I've structured the next two sections in such a way where we do the Firebase first, where we add more Firebase functionality and utility into our application before we tackle the advanced Redux topics, because we need the appropriate environment to see the kind of problems that these advanced Redux solutions will solve. In particular, what we're going to solve in Redux will be handling asynchronous actions and asynchronous events using Redux. As you know right now, most of our actions pretty much just update the reducers in a very synchronous manner. There's no asynchronous activity in our Redux action creators at all, nor do we use it to handle anything asynchronous. We call them in a very synchronous way. But this will change, especially inside larger scale applications, where the common practice is to use Redux to handle asynchronous activity inside of our application. But before we actually do that, we need to set up our application to utilize more of a database to get its items. Now, of course, right now we do use Firebase's authentication to handle the storage of our user, and we get it from a backend in a very asynchronous manner. But we can actually use it to also store our collection items that we use to get the shop items. Now, if you remember right now, we store it in our front end underneath the shop data.js file. And this is fine for us because it has no real impact on our performance, and it's really just a practice application where this is probably never going to update. In a real-world setting, however, this will sit on a database because there's a chance that multiple platforms will utilize this data. So you can imagine if we had a mobile application as well as our web application that would both need to reference the shop items, and those items would always have to be up to date on both platforms. So keeping it on a database makes sure that the information that we get regarding what items to display is always consistent and from one single source. Otherwise, if we were to keep this data on the front end and on the mobile application, for example, it would be hard for us to guarantee that both data sets are the exact same, because we would have to update it on our front end, update it on our mobile. Whereas if we were to keep this all in one place in a database of some kind and then just fetch from it from our respective applications, then we can be sure that such data is pure and exactly the same. Now, in order for us to do this, we will have to, one, put this information actually on our Firebase Firestore database, but also set up our application in such a way that we would fetch from that database whenever the respective correct components need that data. And that will be way more akin to what a final application actually looks like. But in order for us to do so, we need to get better at understanding how to use Firebase's Firestore. So what we'll do is we will take a quick refresher on how we've already used Firestore and dive deeper into what we've already done, as well as understand what the Firestore library does for us. So before we begin, let's take a look at what kind of objects we can get back from Firestore.